We are in the park. Oh, wait, you should do your intro.
Oh,
Welcome.
hello. Welcome to my intro. Welcome to the Byline Podcast. Two bisexuals talk about. If I'm speaking quietly, it's because we're in the park. Two bisexuals talking about very different books that we read. I am Carlton.
And I'm Kennedy. And this is Prospect Park.
Yeah, we're on a. Jesus Christ. We're on a quick timer today for very different reasons. So we're just gonna jump right. No dilly-dallying.
Should we just briefly say how we're doing?
Sure, how are you?
Oh, good. We went to the beach yesterday.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. If specifically I wasn't there, do you think you would have went topless at the beach or no?
No, I wouldn't have. But not because... And I honestly would have gone topless if you were there, too. I was wearing a one piece. And if I had... It would have... You know what I mean?
Oh. Yeah,
it wouldn't
I
have
do know
worked.
what you mean.
But
yeah.
if I was wearing a two-piece, I probably would have. Would that have made you uncomfortable?
No, it wouldn't have made me uncomfortable.
Okay.
When you like putting on suntan lotion, I was like, oh, she's supposed to do it. And then you didn't. And then I was like, oh, I guess because she's like amongst friends. So I'm taking a writing class right now. And my professor, unprompted, he just was like talking about Sally Rooney. And he described her writing as IKEA for the millennial brain.
Which I don't like.
I loved it. I found
you
so
do?
Funny. No,
it seems like a backhanded compliment.
No,
I guess.
I guess it was like because it was over Zoom and seeing his face, it was very much like a tongue-in-cheek. Like he respects her, but I think
what does that mean exactly?
Because we were talking about editing, and how like the trend now is to like over-edit.
Yeah.
Instead of like in classic literature where it's kind of like maximalist. Now it's all about as stripped down as possible.
I see.
And then he was like, so it's like Sally Rooney, for example, kind of like the IKEA for the millennial brain.
I guess so. Like if you're being economical with language, for sure, but also highly effective. I guess that's not a bad metaphor.
And I think that's what he like. It was just like very stripped down, effective, and a lot of young people, oh
no. No, you're fine. So yeah. Anyways, we're gonna dive into chapters. Again, these aren't like specific, but chapters 10, 11, and 12.
10, 11, and 12.
So
10 through 12.
We're picking up 3 months later from wherever we last left off.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but it almost seems like she wrote them in 3 chapter chunks.
Yes.
We
didn't do this by... this was like completely random.
Yeah, because these 3 chapters, you kind of get the payoff of the whole money subplot and the economic disparity between the two of them. Like it kind of pays off in these 3. This first chapter, they've broken up. They're both back in Carrickley for 2 different reasons. And they encounter each other at the supermarket. And Connell takes her home. And that's when we learn that Marianne is dating Jamie.
It's the guy who had expressed interest in her. There's, some like subtle foreshadowing that Rooney does throughout the novel. Yeah, I actually didn't write down very much at all about this particular chapter.
Me neither.
It happens very quickly.
And I didn't, so on its own, I don't like it. I literally wrote down this chapter I've never really liked. I've never really liked this chapter, and it's where I always stop reading. Because on its own, I feel like it's not super effective for many reasons. But I think in this group of 3 especially, it does a lot of good setting up of the money thing that becomes the big tear between them.
Yeah.
And I'll just read a quote that kind of pricked my ears. It's when she's in the supermarket, and she's talking to Joanne on the phone. It's time you'll never get back, Marianne adds. I mean, the time is real. The money is also real. Well, but the time is more real. Time consists of physics. Money is just a social construct. Yes, but I'm still at work, says Joanna. It's still me. I'm still having experiences. You're not working, okay, but the time is passing for you. You'll never get it back either. But I can decide what I do with it. I'm reading so flat.
No, you're fine. It's fine.
To that, I would venture that your decision making is also a social construct. Marianne laughs. She wanders out of the freezer aisle towards the snacks. I don't buy into that morality of work, she says. Some work maybe, but you're just moving paper around an office. You're not contributing to the human effort. I didn't say anything about morality. And it's just a small inkling of, like, again, separately on its own, it felt very nonsensical. Like that whole paragraph, the whole selection before she runs into Connell again. But I love that it's like a little sneak peek to like the wider gap it creates between her and Connell.
Yeah, totally. And I think the further you get into the novel, the more distinguished they become as individuals. You learn more about how deeply and uniquely they feel for each other, but their personalities are like fully formed at this point.
Yeah.
And I did write that in relationship to what you had pulled out, the description of Marianne being an idle person.
Yeah.
And that feeling like a reflection of her bourgeoisness in the fact that, because that is like a symptom, or rather a characteristic of a wealthy person, is that you're granted the privilege of time and you're free to use it however you wish. Yeah. And in an ideal world, for some, that might be the liberty of like being an artist or being an intellectual.
Just this small exchange with like a person who she's not even necessarily that close to in this moment, she feels a need to like express this grand feeling of like, you're just sitting behind a desk. Like, what is that morality doing for the world? You know?
Exactly.
When it's like, you know, later on we'll get to, some people just can't think about that.
No.
Some people are just like, I need to just, money is the real thing, not necessarily my feelings on the matter.
Yeah, I really did like that scene. Thank you for pulling that out. That was very good. The other one that I had pulled out too was actually in relationship to Marianne and Connell. On page 117, they are talking about sending promiscuous pictures to each other, and she makes a funny remark, and he says, Marianne, he said, I'm not a religious person, but I do sometimes think God made you for me. And I think there were two ways to take that. One being like in a very romantic sense, like, oh, this one person, you fit together like soulmates.
Yeah.
But I think in the way that Connell is actually signifying it is that rather than him also being made for Marianne, it's like Marianne who, you know, like it's a one-way street kind of thing.
Exactly. Anything he can do to protect himself from being vulnerable, even with the small little things that even he might think is vulnerable.
Yeah.
But it's still another effect of like him, you know, hiding it. Yeah. Even when he's not, I feel like even when he's not trying, he's like protecting himself.
Yeah.
And once again, I wrote down, I was like, once again, Marianne's desperate pining over him makes me sick.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna move along. We're gonna go to chapter 11. So it's 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
So again, the setup in this chapter has been primarily from Marianne's perspective. We've learned that they've broken up, and Marianne's told the readers that they've broken up because Connell wants to see other people, and he's gone back to Dublin for the summer. That's and there's the details as to why exactly he may have wanted to see other people are thin, and when people ask her about it, because it seems like they're suspicious of the fact that there might be more underlying that reason that we haven't uncovered, Marianne dismisses because she's, you know, butthurt that he moved back to Dublin.
This is where it heats up. Oh, this is where it heats up. It's so, 'cause you put it very aptly. It feels like, I think it's them getting older maybe, but it feels like I'm reading a different novel.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think the novel really shifts with their age and their evolving perceptions of the world.
Completely. And that's really hard to do, because that is what happens as you get older, is you experience more of it, and then you understand more of it and yourself. And the way that Rooney's able to adjust the style of writing in a really subtle way over time is really well done.
Yeah.
This chapter, we're getting it more from Connell's perspective. So it's only 6 weeks. It's like a month and a half later. And you can tell that we're now going to get his side of the breakup story.
Yeah.
And you learn that it wasn't about him wanting to see other people. He actually wanted to move in with her over the summer, but he couldn't really figure out how to articulate it. And the moment that he says, quote on page 129, it was too late to say what he wanted, that he wanted to stay with her. They're like in the middle of this conversation. She's shut down because she's feeling as though he doesn't want to be with her anymore. And then for whatever reason, he feels unable to correct her. Partly because it's centered around him needing money and him needing to rely on her in a fairly pragmatic and financial way, which to your point earlier reflects this new, finally like materialized dimension of their relationship that's been underlying it for, the entirety of time they've known each other.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's the joy of reading something twice. I can't believe that I didn't, this money subplot felt so auxiliary, I guess, to me the first time I read it.
Yeah.
Now I'm really seeing how pivotal it is
when you're paying
when you're paying attention to things. Like, I'm seeing how pivotal so like, to go back to what I was saying about Last Chapter being a setup for the wider thing, Marianne has these thoughts about money versus morality and your role in society and things like that. But to people like Connell, it's obviously much more concrete. You need it. And like Kennedy said, I was like, this time reading it, I was kind of aghast that this whole new divide is because he was so ashamed about his lack of money.
Yeah.
And
which is so funny because, well, and again, as the further along we read, the more aware of the fact you are that Marianne is really oblivious to it.
Yeah.
In a way that's surprising given how leftist her politics are
So
and how
crazy.
class conscious she is in the abstract. But when it comes to confronting that actual tension in your interpersonal relationships becomes impossible for her to navigate.
Like the scenes where Connell is describing the narrative describing that Marianne would buy movie tickets for them and without thought, but it would play Connell for weeks on end, the fact that he couldn't pay her back, the fact that he couldn't afford it in the first place, and then she picks it up out of just generosity.
Yeah, because she is a generous person. And he makes a comment in one of the later chapters that she's so generous he considers her to be a better person. Yeah. But I consider her to be a slightly... You would hope that someone who, again, is willing to like go to bat for Palestine in any given conversation would just as easily be able to freely and readily express the difficulties that emerge from being a working class and of her own inherent privileges as someone who is not.
I made a note about the way that Sally is like able to get across just pure intensity.
It's a good one.
Specifically, there's a part at where reunite at the funeral, the mass.
For the memorial.
Yes, for the memorial for her father.
For her father.
And the way you can like, I guess it's because she's just so good at like, again, subtly setting up things, but the way that you feel the weight of them meeting again, and how Connell says he would rather set himself on fire.
She uses a lot of violent imagery when it comes to how they feel about each other.
And I think like a lot of times I or other writers will get notes of like, the narrative is so quiet, why do you need these super jarring images? But I think it really gets across in these specific instances, like the intensity to which Connell feels. Like, it is like a messy, nonsensical, he would rather like set himself on fire or like run his car into a tree or anything like that.
Well, and this distinction too being that they only feel this way in regards to this specific person.
Right.
Like, there's no one else who makes them, who the idea of someone hurting them makes them want to kill someone. Like in this chapter too, he goes into his, honestly, quite honestly, the sexual assault that he experiences at the hands of his former teacher, who eventually backs off when she does realize how intoxicated he is in their encounter. But when he tells Marianne, and this might actually come out in the next chapter again, it all kind of is blurring together, but she mentions that, you know, she would literally kill that woman if she were to do that again.
Which I want to say, that's another instance of, I liked how sparse that scene was, because Connell meets a teacher at a bar, and then we're just suddenly like transported to her home, and then it's told in this very dream-like state because he's drunk and seeing double.
She captures it well. The only other thing that I had pointed out for myself here was, again, these notions of submission, because we had again talked about last time this idea of Marianne feeling as though she's both, I don't know if empowered is the right word, but exerts agency and derives pleasure from being submissive, especially in a sexual way, maybe only even exclusively in a sexual way. And that comes out very explicitly in these couple of pages where she admits that her boyfriend physically is violent with and abuses her when they're, you know, having sex. And she's told him that he can do that, but he's clearly taken a perverse, masochistic privilege in that that's gone uncorrected, and, you know, it's quite horrifying. And she says, again, that it was my idea that I wanted to submit to him. And then on page 138, she says, you're not really submitting to someone if you only submit to things you enjoy. And again, this for me goes back to authority and like what you're willing to, like, I kind of agree with her in a way. Like, not,
how did I know you would?
No, but not about,
I know what you're saying.
Not about submitting to it, but about, I guess maybe not the choice to submit to it, but the fact that submitting to it means the good, bad, and the ugly in some respects.
I get it.
I think, like, philosophically it makes sense.
Yeah.
Ethically, maybe not
so
much.
100% agree with you. I thought the same thing.
Because it's kind of fascistic. Yeah. Like, she's kind of like, yeah, it's very surprising.
Yeah.
Again, it feels so at odds with her very independent, kind of radical personality.
She's full of contradictions.
Yeah.
She's full of contradictions, and
Yeah.
That scene in a coffee shop made me understand what you said last episode about, like, when you submission for someone you love or something, it's like something to do with submission and equating that to love and trust. That's it. Trust.
No, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
you're aligning your and that's, I think, what's so troubling about this is that you are aligning yourself with this person by saying that what they say goes. Like, if they want it, I'm good with it no matter what it is. And I mean, Jamie obviously hasn't earned nor deserves this, and she does distinguish the fact that it was so different with Connell.
But yes, I did note that her literally saying he beats me up, I was like, oh, this is what I thought would piss you off.
I mean, it's very disheartening. I mean, it's
describing
just sad.
it as like, he beats me up. I was like, oh, this is gonna piss Kennedy off.
Yeah, because I think what's beautiful about, again, her wanting to imbue Connell with that kind of trust is knowing that he wouldn't actually do it.
Yeah.
Because he's a good person and because he loves her, and then kind of in kind, again, as the further we move through the novel, the more that they open up to each other. He tells her about what happened with the teacher. She's telling him about her relationship with Jamie. I feel like they're really giving each other a peek behind the curtain, and it's funny because that's happening in this platonic context. Like, they're not having sex anymore.
I think that's why I love this chapter so much. I love that it's just, I mean, I also try to mirror this technique, but like setting up these very emotionally dramatic moments in such mundane spaces, like this just this
they're in a
plain coffee shop and at a supermarket, and I don't know.
She chooses her settings very well. Yeah, they feel very intentional. They're always in these like third spaces too. I was thinking about, this is such an like obvious observation, it feels like, but so often in her books, and especially in this one, you realize like how much is revealed to us about ourselves through interactions with other people. Like, very rarely are her characters alone for especially an extended amount of time. Like, I don't think, like, Sally Rooney would never write a Walden's Pond kind of, like, she would always want her characters to be in social settings, because that's how both we develop and reveal more about ourselves.
I recently, because I'm finishing up a short story, and I was like, why do all my characters, they learn the big pivotal thing they need to learn through conversating with someone else?
No, it's so true.
But I think I got it from Sally, from Brendan Taylor, because Sally's a big influence for him, for Brian Washington. These people that's like, I feel like they understand we really define ourselves through the people that we know and hang out with, and who we seek the guidance of.
And it moves the plot along in a really interesting way.
And it's just interesting.
I mean, and I feel like a lot of the films I like are this too. I feel like that's a very common trope that you see online, is that like people who can watch films of just people having dinner together.
Dinner with Andre.
Wait, do you like that movie?
No, but
you should watch it.
I saw the Community episode where they like spoofed it.
No, it's really, really good. That was like my first foray into like highbrow film, was that.
But you love it.
I do love it. I don't think it was like mind blowing, but it truly is just two people having dinner. It's okay. Do you smell the banana? Dogs are dogging today. Okay, third chapter.
Oh, so good.
So good. I think for me, because just like we're talking about these two different perspectives on why the breakup happened, you're actually satisfied with the fact that the truth comes to light for both of them. Connell explains precisely what happened, and Marianne realizes her folly because they didn't communicate clearly.
And she's like, of course I would have let you stay.
Yeah.
Once again, if they would have communicated.
If they would have communicated. And again, I think the fault for me is like squarely in Marianne's lap because of her lack of class consciousness and her inability to not make Connell's life about herself. Like him reacting to something about her as opposed to him being a person who has multiple kinds of struggles.
I think her like very concrete sufferings with her family, or whatever, has like affected so much of her life, where she is so often in self-preservation mode. She's so worried about herself. And like you said earlier, Connell sees her such like a good person, such a better person, when in so many aspects she's just not.
No.
She's not really.
And that's okay. I mean, and that's, that is okay. I will say the beginning of this chapter is definitely hard to read because you just see how bad things are at home for Marianne.
Oh, yeah.
Because Alan, her brother, is such a piece of shit.
Oh my god, is that one? Oh my god, this is that one. And then they have an exchange
around Christmas on 146, and he's grabbed her and
oh my god,
spits on her. That's what he does. He spits on her. And the way that she handles that, and the way that her mother, like, it's and we'll get into this in the next episode that we release, but oh yeah, it's pretty brutal.
The scene where she spits on her, or he spits on her.
Yeah.
The last line of that is, lifting the fourth teacup onto the draining board, she noticed a mild tremor She noticed a mild but perceivable tremor in her right hand. And that's how it ends. Because the whole time she remains rigid, and which pisses him off more. But then
there's no right way to react.
She can't stop her body from the... So the framing of this whole chapter is that there's a party in Marianne's apartment. Jamie, Peggy, they're all there. Connell calls and he's like, hey, I've been mugged.
I'm drunk.
I am drunk and I have no money. You're the only number I knew off the top of my head.
Which, hello, sweet. Romantic.
And I just need some money. It's such a nice way to cap off this trio of like the money chapters, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Because it's just Connell has to outright ask for money out of need. He's just, they're now, because there's been so many lines of like they never talked about money, but now they're just being out of necessity, need to just talk about, I need money. I have none.
And the way that it's revealed about his situation on page 156, he says, I didn't really know what was going on with us last summer. Like when I had to move home and that, I kind of thought maybe you would let me stay here or something. Helicopter. You told me you wanted to see other people. I had no idea you wanted to stay here. Which again, Marianne.
She's just so locked into herself.
I know.
Which, I mean, again, for good reason. She has a lot of shit going on, for good reason. I wrote, all I gotta say is, the parts with her family make me tear up.
Yeah.
I think this is why the things she puts herself through in the beginning with Connell make me upset, for her.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
But it's just, it's that animal instinct of I crave what I only know I've ever gotten, and I don't know how to ask for what I haven't gotten, which is love and security.
Snaps to that, my friend. Oh, and we find out about Helen. This is where we find out. So Connell has started dating a woman named Helen, who he says he's in love with. That they have, and we'll get more into this in the next episode, but he has a quote normal relationship with.
Girl.
We'll get into it.
Normal relationship.
We'll get into it. So yeah, we had to fly through these chapters, and join us for the next episode coming out next week, which will be us covering but one chapter because it's
Italy chapter.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
We'll see you again in the park.